What if Padmé survived Mustafar and hid Luke and Leia from the Empire? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. She's dying. The medical droids say 12% chance of survival. But Padmé Amidala refuses to die. Deep within her failing body, two tiny heartbeats pulse alongside her own. Her children, unborn, innocent, needing her. That single thought becomes her lifeline. She will not die. She cannot die. Not before she holds them. The galaxy thinks Senator Amidala died on Mustafar, strangled by the man she loved. They're about to hold a funeral for a woman who's very much alive. And in 16 years, when Darth Vader finally discovers the truth, when he learns his children survived, when he comes face to face with the family he thought he destroyed, everything will change. This is the story of how one mother's refusal to give up rewrote the fate of the galaxy. The fires of Mustafar still burn in the distance, casting hellish light across the black sand shores. Obi-Wan Kenobi carries Padmé's unconscious body up the ramp of her gleaming Naboo cruiser. His robe singed and his heart shattered. Behind him, he can still hear the screams. Anakin screams. The sound of his former apprentice burning alive echoes in his mind as he lays Padmé gently on the medical bay's examination table. Her skin is pale, almost translucent. Her breathing is shallow, irregular. The medical droids swarm around her immediately, their sensors beeping urgent warnings. Critical trauma detected, severe tracheal damage, cardiac arrhythmia. Patient is experiencing catastrophic system failure. Probability of survival, 12% and falling. The lead medical droid's monotone voice delivers the death sentence with clinical precision. Obi-Wan grips the edge of the table, his knuckles white. Not her too. I can't lose them both. The droid doesn't acknowledge his pain, simply continues its work, injecting medications, attaching monitors, performing scans. But something the droids don't understand is happening beneath the surface. Deep within Padmé's failing body, in a place beyond medicine and technology, her consciousness clings to existence with a ferocity that defies biology. In the darkness of approaching death, she feels them. Two tiny sparks of life. Two presences intertwined with her own. Her children, unborn, innocent, perfect. They need her. She hasn't held them yet, hasn't kissed their foreheads or whispered their names, hasn't told them how much she loves them, how wanted they are, how she would die 1,000 deaths to protect them. That thought, that primal maternal instinct, becomes her lifeline. She wraps her entire being around it, using it as an anchor against the tide pulling her toward oblivion. The Force itself seems to respond, though Padmé doesn't understand the mechanics of it. She only knows that she will not die, cannot die. Not yet. Not before she sees their faces. Her vitals, which had been plummeting towards zero, suddenly stabilize. Just a fraction. Just enough. The medical droid pauses, its photoreceptors flickering with what might be confusion in a more sentient being. Anomalous reading. Patient's neural activity is increasing despite physical trauma. Cardiovascular function stabilizing. This is highly irregular. Obi-Wan leans forward, hope sparking in his chest. Can you save her? The droid rotates its head toward him. Probability of survival has increased to 41%. I am detecting unusual readings. The patient appears to be fighting with extraordinary willpower. If we can maintain stability for the next 3 hours, she may survive the delivery. 3 hours. Obi-Wan sets the ship's navigation for Polis Massa, the remote asteroid medical facility, where they can hide while Padmé gives birth. As the ship enters hyperspace, he sits beside her, holding her hand. Through the Force, he can feel her struggle. It's like watching someone climb a cliff face with broken fingers, refusing to let go despite the agony. Her determination is almost frightening in its intensity. He's seen Jedi face death with less courage than this young woman shows in fighting for life. Padmé's mind drifts through fevered half-consciousness. She sees images, memories, fragments. Anakin on Naboo, laughing as they run through the meadow. Anakin in the arena on Geonosis, chained beside her, telling her he loves her. Anakin in their secret apartment on Coruscant, his hand on her swollen belly, feeling the baby's kick. Then the images turn dark. Yellow eyes, a twisted face, hands around her throat. The man she loved, killing her. No, not Anakin. Something else. Something that wore his face, but had lost his soul. The ship drops out of hyperspace, and Polis Massa fills the viewport. The asteroid's medical facility is a marvel of technology, built into the rock itself. Its corridors sterile and white and lifeless. Obi-Wan carries Padmé inside, where more advanced medical droids take over her care. They move with efficient precision, preparing the delivery suite, administering treatments that their cruiser's limited facilities couldn't provide. For hours, Padmé hovers in that gray space between life and death. The medical droids work tirelessly, repairing damage, stimulating healing, keeping her stable enough for the babies to be delivered safely. Obi-Wan paces outside the medical bay, unable to sit still, unable to stop thinking about what he left on Mustafar. He abandoned Anakin to die. His brother, his student, his friend. He tells himself it was necessary, that Anakin was already gone, consumed by Darth Vader. But the guilt gnaws at him anyway. Finally, as dawn breaks over whatever distant star this asteroid orbits, the medical droids announce that delivery is imminent. Padmé must be conscious for this. They administer stimulants, carefully calibrated to wake her without putting additional strain on her damaged body. Her eyes flutter open, unfocused at first, then slowly clearing. The first thing she sees is Obi-Wan's face, lined with worry and exhaustion. Where am I? Her voice is a rasp, her throat still damaged. Polis Massa, you're safe. The babies are coming. At the word babies, something fierce and protective flashes in Padmé's eyes. She tries to sit up, but the medical droids gently restrain her. Please remain still, Senator. We must monitor your vitals carefully. Any additional stress could be fatal. But Padmé is no longer listening to warnings about her own survival. She's focused entirely on the lives inside her. The two souls she's fought so hard to protect. The delivery is long and difficult. Padmé's body has been through too much trauma, and every contraction threatens to destabilize her again. But she pushes through the pain with that same iron will that kept her alive. The medical droids provide encouragement in their emotionless way, reporting dilation and position and all the clinical details of birth. Obi-Wan holds her hand, offering what comfort he can, feeling utterly helpless in the face of this fundamental mystery he can never fully understand. Then, after what feels like an eternity, a cry pierces the air. High, angry, perfect. The lead medical droid lifts a tiny, squirming form. It's a boy, healthy, strong life signs. Obi-Wan watches as they clean the baby and wrap him in a soft blanket. The infant has a shock of dark hair and eyes that, even unfocused, seem to look around with curiosity. He's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The droid places him in Padmé's arms for just a moment, and she looks down at her son with tears streaming down her face. Luke. His name is Luke. Her voice is soft, full of wonder. She touches his tiny hand, and his fingers wrap around hers with surprising strength. In that moment, the galaxy could end and Padmé wouldn't care. Everything that matters is right here in her arms. But the medical droids interrupt the moment. Senator, you must focus. The second child is coming. Padmé reluctantly lets them take Luke, placing him in a warming bed nearby, where she can still see him. The second delivery is faster, but no less intense. Padmé is exhausted, running on nothing but will at this point. But when she hears that second cry, just as strong and indignant as the first, energy floods back into her. A girl, also healthy, strong life signs. These are remarkable children, Senator. The droid's tone suggests actual emotion, which is probably just Padmé's imagination. When they place her daughter in her arms, Padmé sees a tiny face scrunched in fury, already showing personality. Leia. Her name is Leia. The baby girl calms at her mother's voice, her small face relaxing. Padmé holds both of them now, one in each arm, and the pain, the fear, the trauma of Mustafar all seem distant and unimportant. She made them. Despite everything, despite Anakin's fall and the death of the Republic and her own near death, she made these two perfect beings. They're here. They're real. They're hers. Obi-Wan watches the scene with mixed emotions. Joy at seeing new life. These children who might represent hope for the galaxy, but also deep sadness, because Anakin should be here. He should be holding his children, marveling at their perfection, beginning the journey of fatherhood. Instead, he's probably dead on a lava shore, his body burned beyond recognition. Or worse, somehow alive and being twisted further by Palpatine's dark influence. The moment of peace is shattered when Master Yoda arrives. The ancient Jedi Master enters the medical bay, his ears drooping with sorrow, his eyes containing centuries of pain. But when he sees the twins, something changes in his expression. He hobbles closer, studying the infants with the Force. Strong. These younglings are powerful, a presence unlike any I have felt before. Together, their strength is magnified, dangerous. This could become. Padmé's arms tighten protectively around her babies. What are you saying? Yoda meets her gaze steadily. Only that careful we must be. The Sith will hunt these children if they learn of their existence. The Emperor, Vader, any who serve the dark side. These younglings represent a threat to their power, a hope for the light, but also a temptation to turn them to darkness. Padmé's face hardens. No one is taking my children. Not Palpatine, Not Vader, not anyone. Yoda nods slowly. Agree with you, I do. But protect them, we must. And to do that, hidden, they must remain. Obi-Wan steps forward. Master Yoda and I have discussed this. Padmé, the best way to keep them safe is to separate them. Hide them on opposite ends of the galaxy with families who can protect them. I have contacts on Tatooine who would take the boy, and Senator Organa has expressed willingness to adopt the girl. They would be loved, cared for, and most importantly, hidden from the Emperor's sight. The suggestion hits Padmé like a physical blow. Her children have been alive for less than an hour, and these men are already planning to tear them away from her, separate them from each other. The fury that rises in her is volcanic, giving her strength despite her exhaustion. She sits up fully, ignoring the medical droid's protests. No, absolutely not. You will not take my children from me. You will not separate them. I've lost everything else. My husband, my career, my home, my identity. I will not lose them too. Obi-Wan tries to reason with her. Padmé, please understand. If the Emperor discovers their existence, understand the danger. The Emperor already thinks I'm dead. We can keep it that way. She looks between Yoda and Obi-Wan, her mind already working through the political and strategic implications. You were planning to fake my death anyway, weren't you? To protect me from Palpatine's vengeance? They exchange glances, confirming her suspicion. Then we do exactly that. I die, but the children die with me. Officially, no one knows they were born. We hide together, all three of us, but the Force. Yoda begins. I don't care about the Force right now. Padmé's voice is steel. I care about my children. And I'm telling you, they need their mother, and they need each other. Look at them. She gestures to the twins, who have somehow found each other despite being in separate beds. Their tiny hands are reaching toward one another, their faces turned in each other's direction. They're connected. Even you can feel it. Separating them would be cruel. Yoda closes his eyes, reaching deep into the Force for guidance. He stays that way for a long moment, while Padmé waits, her heart pounding. Finally, the ancient master opens his eyes. Right, you may be. A bond between them, I sense. Strong it is, unnatural perhaps, to break it. He looks at Obi-Wan. Another path the Force shows me. Risky, it is, but perhaps necessary. Trust in a mother's love. We must. Underestimate it. We should not. Obi-Wan's shoulders slump in resignation. He knows when he's outnumbered, especially by the combined will of Yoda and Padmé Amidala. Very well, we'll do it your way. But Padmé, you understand what you're accepting. A life in hiding. No contact with your family, your friends, your former life. You'll be alone except for the children. It could be years before it's safe to emerge. Decades, even. Are you prepared for that? Padmé looks down at Luke and Leia, memorizing their tiny features. For them, I would hide until the stars burn out. Obi-Wan nods slowly. Then we need to plan carefully. The funeral first. It needs to be convincing, public, emotional. All of Naboo must believe you're truly dead. He pauses. Padmé, Anakin will believe it too. If he survived Mustafar, He'll think you died. You'll never be able to tell him the truth. Good. Her voice is flat, emotionless. Let him think I'm dead. Let him live with that guilt. Maybe it will be the only justice I ever get for what he did. The words are harsh, but Obi-Wan can hear the pain beneath them. She's not as cold as she's pretending to be. She's devastated, but she's also a survivor. And survivors do what they must to protect what matters. Right now, what matters is Luke and Leia. They spend the next several days at Polis Massa, allowing Padmé to recover enough strength to travel. During this time, they begin implementing their plan, using contacts within the Senate's bureaucracy. Contacts who don't know they're working for surviving Jedi. They arrange for Padmé's official death certificate. Cause of death: complications from childbirth. It's tragically common enough to be believable, and the timing works with her pregnancy. The funeral is arranged with help from Naboo's government. They genuinely believe their former queen has died, and their grief is real. That makes the deception easier to maintain. A body is needed for the casket. And here, Obi-Wan uses a technique he learned from studying ancient Jedi texts. They take biological material from Padmé, combine it with sophisticated alien technology from Kamino, and create a perfect replica. It won't fool a medical examination, but it will fool eyes paying respects at a funeral. Meanwhile, Padmé stays hidden in the medical facility, slowly regaining her strength while caring for her newborn twins. The medical droids are invaluable, teaching her everything she needs to know about infant care. How to feed them, change them, soothe them when they cry. It's overwhelming and exhausting, and the most meaningful thing she's ever done. These babies depend on her completely, and that responsibility is both terrifying and grounding. She talks to them constantly, even though they can't understand. She tells them about their father, carefully editing the story. She describes Anakin as he was, the brave pilot, the loyal friend, the passionate defender of justice. She leaves out the monster he became. That's a conversation for later, when they're old enough to understand. For now, they deserve to know their father was once a good man who would have loved them. On Naboo, the funeral takes place on a gray, rainy morning that seems to weep with the mourners. Thousands line the streets of Theed as the ornate casket is carried through the city. Inside the casket, the replica of Padmé lies in state, dressed in one of her elegant gowns, her hands folded peacefully. She looks like she's sleeping, beautiful, even in death. The people of Naboo throw flowers, weep openly, call out their love for their fallen queen. In the Imperial Palace on Coruscant, Darth Vader stands alone in his meditation chamber. The funeral is being broadcast across the HoloNet, the galaxy mourning the loss of a beloved senator. Vader watches through the viewport, his fists clenched at his sides. The respirator in his armor breathes for him, a constant mechanical rhythm that marks the seconds. He reaches out through the Force, desperate for any sense of her presence, any sign that this is a trick, a deception, that Padmé is still alive somewhere. For a moment, just a brief flicker, he feels something, a warmth in the Force, distant but familiar. It feels like Padmé, but not quite. There's something else there, something he can't identify. But before he can focus on it, The sensation vanishes. Vader tells himself it's wishful thinking, the ghost of what he destroyed. Padmé is dead. He killed her on Mustafar. That's the reality he must accept, the burden he must carry. His wife is dead, and he murdered her just as surely as if he had run her through with his lightsaber. The guilt threatens to overwhelm him. Beneath the mask, what remains of Anakin Skywalker wants to scream, to rage, to tear the galaxy apart in his grief. But Vader pushes those feelings down, buries them deep. Anakin is dead too. Only Vader remains, and Vader feels nothing. Vader is a tool of the Emperor, an instrument of order in a chaotic galaxy. Personal attachments, love, grief, these are weaknesses that he has transcended. Or so he tells himself. But deep in his fortress of rage and self-hatred, a small voice whispers the truth. He's lying. He feels everything, and the pain is unbearable. On Polis Massa, Padmé watches her own funeral, with tears streaming down her face. Beside her, Obi-Wan stands silently, offering quiet support. She sees her family in the crowd, her parents aged and broken by grief, her sister Sola sobbing into her husband's chest, her nieces confused and frightened by the adult sorrow. Padmé wants to reach through the holoscreen and tell them she's alive, but she can't. This is the price of protecting her children. Everyone she loves must believe she's dead. When the casket is sealed and placed in the tomb, Padmé feels something inside her close as well. Senator Amidala is truly dead now. The Queen of Naboo is dead. Anakin's wife is dead. Everything she was, everything she accomplished, all of it is being buried in that tomb. Only the mother remains. Only Padmé, and soon even that name will be discarded. She must become someone new, someone no one knows, someone who can disappear into the galaxy's endless crowds and never be found. Yoda helps her choose a destination. It must be remote, but not too remote. Populated enough that 3 more residents won't draw attention, but not so populated that Imperial presence is heavy. It must have enough infrastructure to support a small family, but not so much civilization that records and surveillance are everywhere. After considering dozens of options, they settle on a moon called Ren, orbiting a gas giant in the outer rim. It's perfect in its mediocrity, unremarkable, unimportant, easily forgotten. Obi-Wan arranges transportation and papers. Padmé is now Mara Sunrider, a widow from the Mid-Rim whose husband died in the Clone Wars. She's come to Ren to start over, to build a quiet life away from painful memories. The twins are officially hers, born on a transport during her journey. The story is sad but common enough that no one will question it. Refugees and displaced persons are everywhere in the post-war galaxy. One more widow and her children will blend right in. Before they part ways, Obi-Wan gives Padmé several gifts: a blaster and training in how to use it, a communicator with encrypted channels in case of emergency, credits, enough to establish her homestead and survive for several years, and something unexpected, a small holodisk containing messages from Anakin. These are from before, Obi-Wan explains quietly. Messages he recorded during the war, planning to send them to you but never did. I thought someday the children might want to know who their father was. Before, Padmé takes the holodisk with shaking hands. She's not sure she can bear to watch them, but she tucks it away carefully, knowing Obi-Wan is right. Luke and Leia deserve to know the man their father once was, even if they can never meet him. Obi-Wan also gives her basic instruction in the Force. He's no expert in training non-Force sensitives, but he teaches her what he can. Meditation techniques to help her stay calm. Ways to sense danger. Most importantly, how to hide Luke and Leia's Force presence, masking their signatures so they won't draw the attention of Sith or surviving Jedi. "Where will you go?" Padmé asks, as they prepare to part. "Tatooine. There's a family there, the Lars family. They're Anakin's step-family, actually. His mother married into them before she died. I'll watch over their farm from a distance. If the Emperor ever comes looking for Skywalker connections, he'll find that trail first. It might buy you time. It's a sacrifice," Padmé realizes. Obi-Wan is deliberately putting himself in danger to draw attention away from her and the twins. "Thank you for everything. You've been a better friend than we deserved." Obi-Wan manages a sad smile. "Anakin was my brother. These children are all that remains of him. Protecting them is the least I can do." He looks down at Luke and Leia, sleeping peacefully in their carrier. "May the Force be with you, Padmé, and with them. I hope someday, when this is all over, we'll meet again in better circumstances." Then he's gone, vanishing into the galaxy, and Padmé is truly alone with her children. The journey to Ren takes 3 days aboard a commercial transport. Padmé keeps to herself, avoiding conversation with other passengers. The twins are remarkably well behaved for newborns, sleeping most of the trip. When they do wake and cry, Padmé tends to them quickly and quietly, drawing as little attention as possible. She's already learning to make herself invisible, a skill that will become essential to her survival. Ren is exactly as described. Unremarkable. The moon's surface is dusty and brown, dotted with scrubby vegetation and rocky outcroppings. The settlements are small, scattered, mostly focused around mining operations and moisture farming. The population is maybe 50,000 across the entire moon, and most keep to themselves. It's the kind of place where people come to disappear, which makes it perfect for Padmé's purposes. She uses some of Obi-Wan's credits to purchase a small homestead on the outskirts of one settlement. It's nothing like the palaces and apartments she's used to. Just a simple dwelling, half buried in the hillside for temperature regulation, with a few rooms and basic amenities. There's a moisture vaporator for water, solar panels for power, and a small plot of land where theoretically she could grow crops, though the soil looks unpromising. It's humble and harsh, and absolutely nothing like her old life. It's perfect. The first few weeks are brutal. Padmé has never lived like this, never had to do everything herself. There are no handmaidens to help with the children, no cooks to prepare meals, no maintenance crews to fix things when they break. She's on her own, learning through trial and error. The moisture vaporator breaks down twice in the first month, and she spends hours in the dust trying to repair it, following instruction manuals with one hand while holding a crying baby in the other. The twins take up all her time and energy. Newborns are demanding, requiring constant feeding, changing, attention. With 2 of them, Padmé never gets more than an hour or 2 of sleep at a time. She's exhausted, sore, overwhelmed. Some nights, after she's finally gotten both babies to sleep, she sits on the floor and cries from sheer exhaustion. This is nothing like she imagined motherhood would be. She thought Anakin would be there, helping her, sharing the burden and the joy. Instead, she's alone, on a dusty moon, at the edge of nowhere, barely surviving, but she survives. Every morning, no matter how tired she is, she gets up when the babies cry. She feeds them, changes them, holds them when they need comfort. She learns to repair equipment, to stretch food supplies, to live on almost nothing. Her hands, once soft and manicured, become calloused and rough. Her hair, once styled elaborately, is now usually tied back in a simple ponytail. Her clothes are practical and worn. Senator Amidala is truly dead. Only Mara remains, and Mara is a survivor. The settlement's residents are exactly as advertised. They mind their own business, offering occasional nods of greeting but not seeking friendship. That's fine with Padmé. She doesn't want friends, doesn't want connections that could expose her identity. But there's one neighbor who makes contact despite Padmé's attempts at isolation. An older woman named Tana, who lives in the next homestead over. She shows up one day with a pot of stew and a no-nonsense expression. "You look like you're drowning," Tana says bluntly, "and those babies need you healthy. When did you last eat a real meal?" Padmé tries to politely refuse, but Tana isn't having it. She pushes past into the dwelling, takes one look at the mess and exhaustion, and takes charge. She shows Padmé more efficient ways to care for the twins, tricks for getting them to sleep at the same time, recipes that stretch limited ingredients. She doesn't pry into Padmé's past, doesn't ask uncomfortable questions. She just helps, then leaves. Tana becomes Padmé's only real connection to the settlement. She checks in occasionally, always with some practical excuse, bringing spare parts for the vaporator, dropping off extra food, teaching Padmé how to repair the solar panels. Through her, Padmé learns the rhythms of life on Ren, the supply ships that come quarterly, the merchants who travel through, the Imperial patrols that occasionally sweep the moon, though they never bother the settlers. It's a harsh life, but stable, safe, anonymous. As the twins grow from newborns into infants, Padmé begins to notice something extraordinary. They're developing faster than normal babies. At 3 months, they're already holding their heads up consistently, tracking objects with their eyes, reaching for things with surprising coordination. At 6 months, they're sitting up on their own, babbling complex sounds, showing problem-solving skills that seem advanced for their age. Padmé wonders if this is normal, if she's just being a proud mother seeing genius in ordinary development. But then, the Force incidents begin. The first time, Padmé is in the kitchen area, heating bottles for feeding. She sets them on the counter, then turns to get the twins from their crib. But when she comes back carrying Luke, she finds Leia's bottle floating in midair, drifting toward the crib. For a moment, Padmé just stares, her mind struggling to process what she's seeing. Then the bottle drops, clattering on the floor, and Leia begins to cry. Luke reaches toward his sister, his tiny face scrunched in sympathy, and suddenly both bottles lift off the floor and float toward him. Padmé grabs them quickly, her heart pounding. She looks down at her son, who's staring at the bottles with intense concentration. "Luke, no, you can't do that. Do you understand? Don't do that." Of course, he doesn't understand. He's 6 months old. But the incident terrifies Padmé. If the twins are using the Force this young, how is she supposed to hide them? How is she supposed to teach them control when she barely understands the Force herself? She tries to remember everything Obi-Wan taught her about masking Force presence. It's a meditation technique, something about pulling your Force signature inward, making yourself small and unnoticeable. She practices it herself, then tries to extend that concealment to the twins. She's not sure if it works. She can't sense the Force the way Jedi can, but she does it anyway, every night as part of their bedtime routine. Holding both babies, breathing deeply, visualizing a shield around them that hides their light from the galaxy's darkness. The incidents continue. Objects move when the twins reach for them. They seem to sense each other's emotions, even from different rooms. Once, when Luke has a bad dream, Leia wakes up screaming from her own crib, even though nothing disturbed her. Another time, Padmé finds them both staring intently at a toy suspended between their cribs, spinning slowly in midair with no physical explanation. She's terrified someone will notice, but Tana is her only visitor. And fortunately, the twins never display their abilities in front of her. Padmé begins researching the Force obsessively. She uses her old Senate access codes, which surprisingly haven't been deactivated, to break into restricted archives about the Jedi Order. She reads everything she can find: histories of Force-sensitive children, training methods, warnings about the dangers of untrained abilities, the dark side and its seductions. She's trying to educate herself enough to guide her children, but the more she learns, the more inadequate she feels. She's not a Jedi. She can't teach them what they need, but she has no other choice. As the twins approach their first birthday, Padmé begins implementing basic training. Nothing formal, just simple rules presented as games. When they reach for objects, she gently pushes their hands down. No, use your hands, not your mind. She teaches them to hide what they feel, to keep their emotions controlled. When Luke gets angry and a cup shatters across the room, she doesn't yell. She calmly cleans it up, then holds him and talks in a soothing voice. You have to be careful. You're special, but being special can be dangerous. You have to hide it. Do you understand? They're too young to fully comprehend, but children are amazingly adaptable. Over time, the incidents become less frequent. The twins learn to suppress their instincts, to use their hands instead of their minds. But Padmé can see the power in them, growing stronger as they grow. It's like trying to dam a river with stones. Eventually, the pressure will be too much, and everything will break through. She just hopes she can teach them enough control before that happens. The first year on Ren is the hardest. Padmé battles depression that comes in waves, usually at night after the twins are asleep. She sits alone in the darkness and lets herself grieve. For Anakin, the man he was and the monster he became. For her old life, her purpose, her identity. For the future they should have had. For the republic that died. For the democracy she fought so hard to preserve. For everything that was lost and can never be recovered. Some nights, the grief is so overwhelming she considers giving up, just walking out into the desert and letting the elements take her. But then Luke or Leia cries, needing her, and she pulls herself back from that edge. They need her. That's enough reason to keep going. That has to be enough. She finds that channeling her grief into action helps. When the sadness becomes too much, she cleans. She repairs equipment. She trains, practicing the combat moves Obi-Wan taught her, keeping her body strong and ready for whatever comes. She plans, thinking through contingencies for every possible disaster. And she begins, very carefully, to reach out to the rebellion. Through layers of encryption and proxies, using the smuggler communication networks that operate outside Imperial control, she makes contact with resistance cells forming across the galaxy. She never reveals her identity, operating under half a dozen different pseudonyms. But she offers something valuable: intelligence. Using her old access codes, she pulls information from Senate databases, Imperial military movements, supply chains, political vulnerabilities. She analyzes it with her years of political experience and sends it to rebel organizers. It's dangerous. Every time she accesses those databases, there's a risk of being traced. But she's careful, routing her signal through multiple relays, never staying connected long enough to pinpoint her location. And she needs this, needs to feel like she's still fighting, still making a difference. The twins are her purpose, but they can't be her only purpose. She needs to believe that someday, somehow, the galaxy will be free again, that her children will grow up in a better world than this empire of fear and oppression. The rebellion at this stage is barely organized, just scattered cells of dissidents and former Republic loyalists. But Padmé recognizes the signs of something bigger forming. She's seen revolutions before, knows how they start. With small acts of defiance that grow into organized resistance. She nurtures that growth from the shadows, offering strategic advice that helps the cells avoid Imperial crackdowns. She suggests coordination between groups that don't know each other exist. She's building something, even if she'll never get credit for it. When the twins turn 2, they start speaking in full sentences, displaying intelligence that continues to amaze Padmé. They learn fast, absorbing everything like sponges. She starts teaching them formally, using old educational hollows she purchased from a traveling merchant. Basic literacy and math, galactic history, carefully edited to remove any mention of her own role in it. Languages, because Padmé speaks a dozen and wants her children to have that same advantage. But she also teaches them things she never learned in school. Survival skills, how to fight, starting with basic self-defense appropriate for toddlers, how to hide, to move quietly, to notice when they're being watched, how to lie convincingly, a skill that breaks her heart to teach, but that might save their lives someday. And most importantly, how to suppress the Force. That becomes a daily practice, like brushing teeth. Every morning and evening, they sit together and meditate, pulling their presence inward, making themselves small and forgettable in the Force. Luke and Leia are inseparable, their twin bond growing stronger as they age. They develop their own language, a mix of words and gestures, and something that seems almost telepathic. Padmé will see them playing on opposite sides of the room, not speaking, but suddenly both laughing at the same unspoken joke. Or one will start crying, and the other will immediately rush over with a comforting toy before Padmé can even ask what's wrong. It's beautiful and slightly eerie. She wonders if all twins are like this, or if the Force enhances their connection. Their personalities begin to emerge, distinct and complementary. Luke is gentle, curious, always asking questions about how things work. He takes apart the vaporator once just to see its components, then manages to put it back together, fixing a persistent rattle in the process. He's compassionate, deeply troubled when he sees others in pain. When a wild creature injures itself near their homestead, Luke insists they help it, crying until Padmé agrees to treat its wounds. He has his father's mechanical aptitude and his instinctive kindness, the parts of Anakin that Padmé fell in love with. Leia is fierce, determined, bossy in the way of children who are natural leaders. She organizes their games, makes rules, enforces them strictly. When another child in the settlement tries to take Luke's toy, Leia steps between them and refuses to back down despite being half the other kid's size. She has her father's intensity and unwillingness to accept injustice. But she also has something of Padmé in her, a strategic mind that thinks several steps ahead, an understanding of people and their motivations. She's going to be formidable when she grows up. And Padmé is both proud and worried about that. When the twins are 4 years old, Imperial scouts arrive on Ren. It's a routine inspection. Supposedly, they're checking settlements across the Outer Rim for Jedi sympathizers and Force-sensitive children. The Empire has been conducting these sweeps for years, slowly tightening its grip on every corner of the galaxy. Padmé watches their shuttle land in the settlement's central square, her blood running cold. This is what she's feared since arriving on Ren. The moment when hiding is no longer enough. She has prepared for this. She has a plan. She pulls Luke and Leia inside and kneels to their level, her hands on their shoulders, her voice urgent but calm. Listen to me very carefully. Bad people are here. They're looking for children like you. Children who can do special things. You have to hide, and you have to be absolutely silent. Do you understand? No talking, no moving, no using your abilities. Pretend you're statues. Can you do that for Mommy? They nod solemnly, their young faces serious. They don't fully understand the danger, but they trust their mother completely. Padmé leads them to a hidden compartment Obi-Wan helped her install when she first arrived. It's concealed behind a false wall in the storage room, barely large enough for 2 small children. She hugs them tight, fighting back tears. I love you both so much. You're going to be fine. Just stay quiet until I come get you. Then she seals the compartment, activating the systems that will mask their Force presence and muffle any sound. The Imperials go door to door, accompanied by an Inquisitor. The Inquisitor is a human male, his eyes burning with yellow fire, his presence radiating menace. He's using the Force to sense for other Force sensitives, probing each dwelling for any hint of power. Padmé watches through her window as he tears through the settlement, terrorizing families, dragging a few suspected Force sensitives out of their homes. Her heart pounds, but she forces herself to stay calm. Fear will give her away. She has to be Mara now, just another frightened settler with nothing to hide. When they reach her door, she answers with the perfect amount of deference and fear. She's dressed in her plainest clothes, her hair disheveled, playing the part of a desperate widow. The stormtroopers push past her without permission, beginning their search. The Inquisitor follows more slowly, his eyes studying her face. Have we met? There's something familiar about you. Padmé shakes her head, keeping her voice steady. I don't think so, sir. I've only been on Ren a few years. Before that, I lived on a transport, traveling with my late husband. The Inquisitor continues to stare at her, but finally looks away, beginning his force probe of the dwelling. Padmé can feel it, like invisible fingers brushing against her mind. She doesn't resist, letting him sense her surface thoughts, fear for her children, grief over her dead husband, resentment of the Empire, but the kind everyone feels, not anything that marks her as dangerous. The Inquisitor moves through the rooms, and Padmé's heart nearly stops when he approaches the storage room. Inside the hidden compartment, Luke and Leia cling to each other in perfect silence. Through their twin bond, they feel each other's fear and offer comfort. Luke wants to reach out to their mother through the Force to check if she's okay. But Leia grabs his hand and squeezes. No. Remember what Mommy said. Be statues. So they sit frozen, barely breathing, as the Inquisitor's presence passes within feet of their hiding spot. The Inquisitor pauses at the storage room's entrance. He tilts his head, as if hearing something. For a long, terrible moment, Padmé thinks he's detected them. Her hand moves slowly toward the blaster hidden in her belt. If he finds them, she'll fight. She'll die, protecting them. But then the Inquisitor shakes his head and moves on. There's nothing here. Just another widow and her life. He leaves without another word, the stormtroopers following. Padmé waits until their shuttle lifts off and disappears into the sky before she opens the compartment. Luke and Leia tumble out, gasping for air, and she holds them both, shaking with relief. You did so well. I'm so proud of you. You were so brave. They cling to her, and she realizes they're trembling. They're only 4 years old, and they just had to hide for their lives from the Empire's hunters. It's not fair. Children shouldn't have to live like this. But fairness died with the Republic. And all Padmé can do is keep them safe in an unfair galaxy. That night, after the twins are asleep, Padmé makes a decision. She can't keep them completely isolated. If they're going to survive in this galaxy, they need to understand it. Need to see the Empire's cruelty firsthand so they know what they're hiding from. She begins taking them on careful expeditions to the settlement, letting them observe the world while teaching them to blend in. She shows them how stormtroopers move, how Imperials think, how to read people and situations. The twins are quick learners. By the time they're 6, they can spot an Imperial agent in civilian clothes from 100 meters away. They know which settlers are likely to report suspicious activity and which ones hate the Empire enough to keep secrets. They learn to modulate their voices, to control their facial expressions, to lie with perfect sincerity when necessary. It's a childhood spent learning, espionage, and survival. And Padmé hates that she has to teach them these things. But the alternative is worse. She also begins their physical training in earnest. Every morning before dawn, they practice combat forms. Padmé teaches them everything Obi-Wan taught her, plus techniques she learned from her handmaidens back on Naboo. Hand-to-hand combat, weapon handling, tactics. Luke is fluid and instinctive, his movements enhanced by unconscious force, use that Padmé makes him suppress. Leia is more technical, learning the forms precisely and then adapting them creatively. They spar with each other constantly, their twin bond making them challenging opponents. They anticipate each other's moves, counter strategies before they're fully formed. But combat training isn't enough. Padmé also teaches them politics, strategy, history. She shows them hollows of the old republic, explains how democracy worked, how the Senate was supposed to function. She tells them about the Clone Wars, carefully editing the story to remove her own involvement. She teaches them to analyze propaganda, to see through imperial lies, to think critically about everything they're told. She wants them to understand what was lost, what they're fighting to restore, even if she can't tell them yet that they're Skywalkers with a special role to play. When they ask about their father, she tells them carefully curated stories. Your father was a good man who fought in the Clone Wars. He was brave and strong and believed in helping people. He loved you both very much, even though he never got to meet you. He died before you were born. It's not exactly a lie. Anakin Skywalker did die, in a sense. Darth Vader is something else entirely. But the twins don't need to know that yet. They're not ready for that burden. As they grow older, the twins develop distinct interests. Luke becomes fascinated with flying. He builds model ships, studies flight patterns, begs Padmé to let him pilot their small transport. She's reluctant at first, but she sees the way he comes alive in the cockpit. It's pure instinct, like Anakin. She gives in when he's 8, letting him take the controls in empty space with her, ready to grab them if needed. He's a natural, handling the ship with a grace that shouldn't be possible for a child his age. Padmé watches him fly and sees her husband back when he was good, when his talents were used to save lives instead of ending them. Leia gravitates toward information and strategy. She devours every political text Padmé can find, asking questions that show insight beyond her years. She starts listening to Padmé's encrypted rebel communications, figuring out the codes on her own. When Padmé realizes Leia has been eavesdropping, instead of getting angry, she starts teaching her daughter properly how to analyze intelligence, assess threats, coordinate operations. Leia absorbs it all, already thinking like a strategist at age 9. The twins also discover the hollows. Padmé kept them hidden for years. The recordings Obi-Wan gave her of Anakin from before his fall. But one day, while searching for something else, Luke finds the holodisc. He and Leia watch the messages in secret, seeing their father for the first time. Anakin is young in these recordings, maybe 23 or 24. He's in his Jedi robes, smiling at the camera, talking about the war and his hopes for the future. He mentions Padmé in every message, his love for her obvious. The twins watch in fascination, memorizing every detail of the man they'll never meet. When Padmé discovers they've found the hollows, she's not sure whether to be angry or relieved, but seeing the joy on their faces, the way they look at Anakin with such admiration, she can't regret it. They deserve to know him as he was. She sits with them and answers their questions, telling them more stories about Anakin, his kindness, his loyalty, his sense of justice. She even tells them he was a Jedi, though she emphasizes that he died in service to the Republic. It's enough truth to satisfy their curiosity without revealing the terrible whole truth. The years pass in this way, hiding, training, preparing. The twins grow from small children into adolescence, and with adolescence comes new challenges. Their Force abilities are becoming harder to suppress. Luke, in particular, struggles with control. When he's angry or scared, objects shake around him. Once, during an argument, he accidentally throws Leia across the room with a Force push. He's horrified immediately, rushing to help her, apologizing profusely. But the incident frightens them all. If he loses control in public, the Inquisitors will sense it. Padmé intensifies their meditation training. Every day, multiple times a day, they practice pulling their presence inward, hiding their light, becoming nothing in the Force. It's exhausting, like holding your breath constantly, but it's necessary. The Empire's grip on the galaxy has only tightened over the years. The Inquisitors have become more active, hunting Force sensitives with increasing success. The rebellion is growing, but it's still small, fractured, barely able to inconvenience the Imperial machine. Padmé's rebel contacts have proven valuable over the years. She's become one of their best intelligence analysts, providing insights that have saved countless lives. She suggests strategies that work, identifies Imperial weaknesses, helps coordinate between cells that don't trust each other, all anonymously, all from the shadows. She's never met any of them in person, never revealed her location, but they know her by her pseudonym, Fulcrum, and they trust her judgment. Through these contacts, she learns about the Empire's atrocities, the slave labor camps on Kessel, the destruction of worlds that resist too strongly, the systematic elimination of non-humans from positions of power, the dissolution of the last vestiges of the Old Republic's government. Every report is a dagger to her heart. She fought so hard to prevent this, and she failed. The Empire exists because she couldn't save Anakin, couldn't stop Palpatine, couldn't preserve democracy. That guilt sits heavy on her shoulders. When the twins turn 15, they become restless. They've grown up on stories of the rebellion, listening to encrypted transmissions about heroes fighting the Empire. They want to help. They want to matter. Luke especially chafes at their isolation. We have abilities that could make a difference. We could be out there helping people instead of hiding. It's not right. Staying here while others fight. Padmé understands the impulse. She felt the same way at their age, but she also knows the danger. You're not ready. If you expose yourselves, the Inquisitors will come, and they won't just kill you. They'll sense what you are, report it to the Emperor, and he'll move heaven and earth to either capture or destroy you. You're 15 years old, you're children. Please, just wait a little longer. But teenagers don't want to wait. They want to act, to prove themselves. The arguments become more frequent, the twins' frustration more obvious. Leia, in particular, pushes back hard. You can't protect us forever. Eventually, we have to stop hiding and start fighting. Isn't that what you've been training us for? All these years of combat and strategy and Force suppression, what's the point if we never use it? Padmé has no good answer, because Leia is right. She has been training them to fight, preparing them for some future confrontation she can't quite articulate. But the thought of them out there, in danger, facing Vader or the Emperor, terrifies her. She's not ready to let them go. She might never be ready. But the galaxy doesn't care about her readiness, and events are moving beyond her control. One evening, during their usual routine of monitoring rebel communications, an urgent message comes through. It's from one of Padmé's primary contacts in the network, a rebel operative she's worked with for years. The encryption is heavier than usual, the priority marking critical. Padmé decodes it, with Leia looking over her shoulder, both of them reading the contents with growing alarm. Imperial forces have discovered a major rebel cell on Dantooine. They're moving to crush it, and casualties will be catastrophic. The rebels are outgunned, outmanned, need immediate evacuation support. But there's a problem. The Empire has blockaded the system, and no rebel ships can get through. The cell will be wiped out unless someone can break the blockade and extract them. The message ends with a plea. Anyone who can help, please. We're desperate. These are good people, fighters for freedom. They deserve a chance to escape. Padmé reads the message 3 times, her mind racing through possibilities. She knows some of these people, has worked with them for years. They're friends, even though she's never met them. The thought of them dying, captured and executed by the Empire, is unbearable. But what can she do? She's one person on Ren, with 2 children to protect. She can't go running off to Dantooine on a rescue mission. Then Luke speaks up from where he's been reading over their shoulders. We could help. Our ship is fast enough to break through a blockade. I could fly it, and between the 3 of us, we could extract people. It's possible. Padmé shakes her head immediately. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. You've never been in real combat. Flying in empty space is nothing like flying through enemy fire. And if the Inquisitors are there, if they sense you, everything we've worked for is destroyed. But Leia joins her brother's argument. How many people will die if we do nothing? Dozens? Hundreds? We have the ability to save them. And you're saying we should hide instead? That's not the person you raised us to be. You taught us to fight injustice, to help those who can't help themselves. Was that all just theory, or did you actually mean it? The words cut deep because they're true. Padmé has spent 15 years teaching her children to stand against tyranny, to value freedom, to sacrifice for others. She can't suddenly tell them to abandon those principles for safety. But she's also their mother, and every instinct screams at her to keep them hidden. She's kept them safe for 15 years. One mission, one exposure to danger, and it could all end. Is saving one rebel cell worth that risk? She looks at her children, really looks at them. They're not children anymore, she realizes. Luke is tall, lean, with his father's intense blue eyes and natural grace. Leia is fierce, confident, radiating determination. They're 15 years old, the same age Padmé was when she became Queen of Naboo, the same age she was when she fought to free her planet from occupation. If she was old enough then, they're old enough now. The decision tears at her. But finally, reluctantly, she nods. All right, we'll do it. But we do it my way, with planning and preparation. No unnecessary risks. We get in, extract as many as we can, and get out. And if I see any sign of Inquisitors, any hint of Force Hunters, we abort. Immediately. Understood? The twins nod eagerly, already moving to prepare their ship. The journey to Dantooine takes 2 days at maximum hyperspace speed. During the trip, Padmé drills them constantly on the plan. Luke will pilot, using the ship's speed and his instincts to navigate the blockade. Padmé will handle communications and coordination with the rebel cell. Leia will manage sensors and targeting, calling out threats so Luke can evade them. They'll land at the rebel base, load as many people as possible, and run. Simple in theory, likely chaotic in practice. As they approach the Dantooine system, The scale of the Imperial presence becomes clear. 3 Star Destroyers in orbit, supported by dozens of TIE fighters. The blockade is thorough, covering every possible escape vector. On the planet's surface, Imperial forces are advancing on the rebel base. This isn't just a routine crackdown. This is an extermination operation. Someone must have betrayed the rebels, given the Empire exact coordinates. The Imperials are determined to make an example. Luke studies the blockade, his mind calculating possibilities. I can get us through. There's a gap in the TIE fighter coverage. And if we come in fast from the polar approach, we'll be through before they can react. Padmé wants to argue, to find a safer approach, but she knows they don't have time. All right, do it. But at the first sign of serious trouble, we're out. I'm not losing you to save anyone. Understand? Luke pushes the ship to its limits, diving toward Dantooine at a speed that should be impossible for a civilian transport. Alarms scream as they enter the atmosphere at too steep an angle. But Luke doesn't slow down. He's in his element, his instincts guiding him through maneuvers that no droid could calculate. Behind them, TIE fighters scramble to intercept, but they're too slow. Luke threads the ship through the blockade like a needle through cloth, emerging on the planet's surface with barely a scratch. The rebel base is under heavy fire when they land. Padmé opens a communication channel, identifying herself with her Fulcrum credentials. This is Fulcrum. We're here for extraction. How many do you have? The response is chaotic, multiple voices talking over each other. Maybe 30 people. But the Empire is almost on top of us. We don't have much time. Hurry! The landing is rough but functional. As soon as the ramp drops, rebels start rushing aboard. They're dirty, injured, terrified. Some are carrying wounded comrades. Others are trying to salvage equipment. Padmé stands at the ramp, directing traffic, keeping everyone moving efficiently. We can take 30, no more. The wounded first. Leave the equipment. You can replace equipment. Lives are irreplaceable. Leia helps carry the wounded aboard, her face set in grim determination. She's never seen casualties like this before. Burns from blaster fire, shrapnel wounds from explosions. One young man is missing an arm, his face gray with blood loss. She settles him in the cargo hold as gently as she can, then runs back for more. Luke stays in the cockpit. The engine's hot and ready. He monitors the Imperial approach on sensors. They have maybe 5 minutes before the stormtroopers overrun the base. Then disaster strikes. An Inquisitor arrives, descending from a shuttle like a dark comet. The 10th brother, his double-bladed lightsaber spinning, his presence in the Force like a black hole. The rebels who try to fight him are cut down effortlessly. He's not here for them, though. He's sensing for Force sensitives, following a trace he detected when their ship broke through the blockade, and he's heading straight for them. Padmé sees him coming and her blood runs cold. Inquisitor, we need to leave now, but there are still rebels running toward the ship. 10 or 12 of them racing across the open ground with stormtroopers in pursuit. If they leave now, those people die. If they wait, the Inquisitor reaches the ship. It's an impossible choice. The kind of choice Padmé has spent 15 years dreading. Luke makes the decision for her. He leaves the cockpit, grabbing his staff weapon. I'll hold him off. Get everyone aboard and take off the moment you can. Padmé grabs his arm. No, you can't face an Inquisitor. You're not trained for that. He'd kill you. Luke meets her eyes steadily. Maybe. But if we don't try, everyone here dies, including us. Let me do this. Please. Before Padmé can argue further, Luke is gone, running down the ramp toward the approaching Inquisitor. Padmé's heart nearly stops, but she forces herself to keep moving. Get everyone aboard. That's the mission. Save as many as possible. She pulls the last few rebels up the ramp, shouting for them to hurry. Leia appears at her side. What is he doing? He's going to get himself killed. We have to help him. Luke faces the 10th brother in the open ground between the base and the ship. The Inquisitor stops, studying the young man with interest. A force. Sensitive. How delightful. Untrained, though. This will be disappointingly brief. He activates his lightsaber, the red blade spinning in a deadly arc. Luke grips his staff in both hands, his heart pounding. He's trained for combat his entire life, but never faced anyone with a lightsaber. Never fought anyone trying to kill him. The gap between practice and reality is terrifying. The Inquisitor attacks, and Luke barely dodges. The lightsaber passes close enough that he feels its heat. He counters with his staff, but the Inquisitor bats it aside effortlessly. This is pathetic. Just surrender, boy. The Emperor will be pleased to have another force sensitive to break and mold, or die here, if you prefer. Either way, I'll be taking your ship and everyone aboard it. Luke doesn't respond. He's focusing on the Force, letting it guide his movements. His mother taught him to suppress his abilities, but right now, he needs them. He opens himself to the Force, and suddenly everything slows down. He can see the Inquisitor's next move before it happens, can sense the trajectory of each strike. He starts dodging more effectively, his movements becoming fluid, almost dance-like. The 10th brother's smug expression shifts to surprise. You have potential. Impressive for someone so young and untrained. The Emperor would definitely want you alive. He intensifies his attack, but Luke continues to evade. He's not skilled enough to counterattack, not against a spinning, double-bladed lightsaber. But he can buy time, and that's all they need. On the ship, Padmé has the last of the rebels aboard. She runs to the cockpit, preparing to take off manually. But Leia grabs her arm. We can't leave him. He's my brother, our brother. I can feel him through our bond. He's terrified but fighting anyway. If we abandon him, I'll never forgive you. And neither will he, if he somehow survives. Padmé is torn. Every second they stay increases the risk. Stormtroopers are converging on their position. The Inquisitor is still fighting Luke. But how long can an untrained boy last against a trained dark side warrior? She should take off now. Save the 30 people already aboard. That's the logical choice. But Luke is her son. She survived Mustafar for him, hid from the galaxy for him. She can't abandon him now. She makes a decision that goes against every strategic instinct she has. Leia, take the controls. I'm going to help your brother. You take off the moment we're aboard. Understand? Don't wait. Don't hesitate. If we're not back in 2 minutes, you leave without us. Leia's eyes widen. Mom? No, you can't fight an Inquisitor either. Padmé grabs the blaster from her belt. Watch me. She runs down the ramp, firing at the Inquisitor as she approaches. The bolts are deflected easily, but they distract him. Luke takes the opportunity to strike, his staff connecting with the Inquisitor's shoulder. It's not a killing blow, but it staggers him. The 10th brother snarls in rage. "You dare?" He unleashes a blast of force lightning that throws Luke backward, his staff flying from his hands. Padmé fires again, forcing the Inquisitor to defend. She's not trying to win this fight, just create enough chaos to grab Luke and run. But the Inquisitor has had enough of these games. He reaches out with the Force and pulls Padmé toward him, lifting her off the ground. Just as his lightsaber comes up to finish her, something extraordinary happens. Luke and Leia, acting in perfect synchronization through their twin bond, both reach out with the Force. Together, their combined power is far greater than either alone. They grab the Inquisitor and throw him backward with enough force to send him crashing through a wall. The 10th brother is stunned, both by the impact and by what he just sensed. Twins. Force-sensitive twins acting as one. The Emperor must know about this immediately, but he doesn't get the chance to report. Padmé grabs Luke, pulling him to his feet. "Run. Now." They sprint back to the ship as blaster fire erupts around them. Leia has the engines already screaming, ready to take off the moment they're aboard. They dive through the ramp entrance, and before they even hit the deck, the ship is lifting off. Stormtroopers fire uselessly at their shields as they climb toward orbit. The Inquisitor rises from the rubble, his black armor scorched. He reaches for his communicator, but hesitates. If he reports this, he'll have to explain how untrained children overpowered him. The humiliation would be unbearable. Perhaps better to track them down himself, prove his worth by delivering them personally to the Emperor. Yes, he'll find them. And when he does, they'll pay for this insult. But first, he needs to finish purging this rebel cell. In orbit, Luke takes over the piloting, navigating back through the blockade. The TIE fighters are more prepared this time, but Luke's enhanced reflexes and instinctive understanding of flight paths carry them through. They take hits, shields dropping dangerously low, but they make it. As they jump to hyperspace, leaving Dantooine behind, Padmé slumps in her seat, adrenaline finally fading. They did it. They actually did it. 30 rebels saved, and they're alive. All 3 of them, but in the cargo hold, reality sets in. Luke sits with his head in his hands, shaking. I could have died. We all could have died. That Inquisitor, he was so much stronger than me. If you hadn't come, if Leia hadn't helped. Leia sits beside him, putting an arm around his shoulders. But we did help. That's what family does. And we won. Maybe not gracefully, but we survived. That's what matters. Padmé joins them, kneeling in front of her children. You both used the Force openly today. The Inquisitor sensed you. That means the Empire knows. Force-sensitive twins exist somewhere in the galaxy. We can't go back to Ren. They'll be searching for us now. Everything we built there, the life we had, it's over. I'm sorry. This is my fault for bringing us here. Luke shakes his head. No, it was my idea to come, and I don't regret it. Look around. He gestures to the rebels in the cargo hold. Battered, but alive. These people would be dead if we stayed hidden. Maybe being exposed is scary, but at least we're finally doing something that matters. Leia nods agreement. We've been preparing for this our entire lives. Maybe it's time to stop hiding and start fighting. Padmé looks at her children, seeing the determination in their faces. They're right. She's kept them safe for 15 years. But safety was never the end game. She raised them to fight tyranny, to stand for justice. The time has come to let them fulfill that purpose. But it terrifies her because she knows what's out there. The Inquisitors hunting them now. The Emperor who would corrupt or destroy them. And Vader. Always Vader. The shadow that's haunted her for 15 years. She takes a deep breath. All right, we're not going back to Ren. We're going to join the rebellion properly. No more shadows, no more hiding. We become part of the fight. But there are rules. First, you never reveal your true identities. Luke and Leia Skywalker died with me on Mustafar. To everyone, you're orphans who joined the cause. Second, you continue suppressing your Force abilities except in absolute emergencies. The Emperor can't know you exist. And third, you do exactly what I say when I say it. I've kept you alive for 15 years. Trust me to keep doing that. The twins nod solemnly. We understand. And Mom, thank you for everything. For surviving when you could have given up. For raising us. For teaching us. For being the strongest person we know. Padmé pulls them both into a fierce hug, tears streaming down her face. You two are my entire world. Everything I've done, every sacrifice has been for you. And I'd do it all again. They set course for Yavin 4, where one of the rebel cells has a hidden base. During the journey, Padmé contacts her network using the Fulcrum identity. She explains what happened on Dantooine, warns them that the Empire is now searching for Force-sensitive twins. The rebels are grateful for the warning and eager to meet Fulcrum in person finally. When they arrive at Yavin 4, they're greeted as heroes. The rebel base is built into ancient temple ruins, camouflaged from orbital scans. It's primitive compared to Imperial facilities, but there's an energy here that Padmé recognizes. Hope. These people, despite being outnumbered and outgunned, still believe they can win, still fight for a better galaxy. It reminds her of the early days of resisting the Trade Federation on Naboo. Before everything went wrong, Mon Mothma is there, one of the rebellion's founding leaders. She greets Padmé warmly, though she doesn't know her true identity. Fulcrum. It's an honor to finally meet you. Your intelligence has saved countless lives. And now you've proven you're as brave as you are brilliant. The Dantooine extraction was masterful. Padmé deflects the praise. I'm just glad we could help. These are my children, Luke and Leia. They're with me now. Mon Mothma studies the twins with interest. They're young. This war is no place for children. But Padmé shakes her head. They're not children anymore. And in this galaxy, no place is truly safe. At least here, they can fight for something worth fighting for. Mon Mothma accepts this with a sad nod. Too many young people are forced to grow up too fast these days. Very well. We can use every skilled hand we have. Can they fight? Can we ever? Leia steps forward confidently. I can analyze intelligence, coordinate operations, handle logistics. Luke can fly anything with engines. We're trained in combat, tactics, survival, and we want to help. Mon Mothma smiles, confident. I like that. All right, Let's put those skills to use. We'll start you with smaller operations. Let you prove yourselves. Welcome to the rebellion. Over the following months, Luke and Leia integrate into rebel operations. They're careful to use pseudonyms, calling themselves Luke and Leia Lars, supposedly distant relatives of a family on Tatooine. The cover story is thin, but in the rebellion, most people have secrets. No one pries too deeply. What matters is their contribution, and they contribute significantly. Luke joins a fighter squadron, flying Y-wings on supply runs and reconnaissance missions. His natural talent is immediately obvious. He flies with an instinct that seems impossible, anticipating problems before they occur, navigating asteroid fields that should be impassable. Within weeks, he's the best pilot in his squadron. His commander, a grizzled veteran named Captain Antilles, pulls Padmé aside. "Your son has a gift. I've been flying for 20 years, and I've never seen anyone with reflexes like his. Where did he learn?" Padmé gives a prepared answer. His father was a pilot, died in the Clone Wars. Luke has been flying since he was old enough to reach the controls. It's in his blood. Antilles accepts this, though he continues to watch Luke with a mixture of admiration and suspicion. There's something more there, something he can't quite identify. But Luke is loyal, brave, effective. That's what matters. Leia works in intelligence, analyzing Imperial communications and coordinating between rebel cells. She has her mother's political mind, seeing connections others miss, identifying opportunities in seemingly random data. She works closely with Mon Mothma, though neither knows their deeper connection. Mon Mothma was Padmé's friend in the Senate, fought alongside her against Palpatine's power grabs. If she knew who Leia's mother really was, it would change everything. But that secret must remain buried. Padmé herself becomes a strategic advisor. Though she keeps a low profile, she attends planning sessions, offers insights, helps coordinate major operations. But she never takes center stage, never draws attention. The other rebel leaders respect Fulcrum's judgment, but they don't know her face. She wears a hood during video conferences, modulates her voice slightly. The paranoia that kept her hidden for 15 years doesn't fade just because she's joined the fight. The twins prove themselves repeatedly. Luke participates in a daring raid on an Imperial supply depot, his flying allowing the squadron to escape despite heavy TIE fighter pursuit. Leia identifies a pattern in Imperial troop movements that allows the rebels to evacuate 3 cells before they're raided. Together, they're formidable, and they're careful. They suppress their force abilities, except in absolute emergencies. Meditate daily to hide their presence. Never discuss their connection where others might hear, but they're not perfect. Luke's compassion sometimes overrides his judgment. During one mission, he risks his life to save a downed pilot, putting the entire squadron in danger. His commander is furious, but Luke can't apologize for it. "I couldn't just leave him. He has a family, children. How could I fly away, knowing I could save him?" Padmé understands the instinct. It's pure, Anakin. But she also knows it's dangerous. Compassion is a weakness the Empire will exploit. Leia's intensity causes different problems. She's brilliant but abrasive, unwilling to tolerate incompetence or cowardice. She alienates potential allies with her bluntness, pushes people too hard, expects everyone to match her own standards. Mon Mothma takes her aside after one particularly heated argument. You need to learn diplomacy, child. Being right isn't enough. You need people to want to follow you. Leia bristles at the criticism but takes it to heart. She watches her mother work, sees how Padmé navigates difficult personalities, builds consensus. She starts learning. The months turn into a year. The twins are 16 now, fully integrated into the rebellion. They've made friends, earned respect, proven their value. But they're also growing restless again. The operations they run are important, but small. Supply raids, intelligence gathering, evacuations. They want to do something bigger, something that really hurts the Empire. And an opportunity presents itself. Intelligence reports indicate that Grand Moff Tarkin is traveling to Eriadu for a conference with other Imperial governors. His ship will be lightly guarded, vulnerable during the journey. Some rebels suggest an assassination attempt. If they can kill Tarkin, it would be a massive blow to Imperial morale. But others argue it's too risky. Tarkin is one of the Emperor's closest advisors. Trying to kill him would bring devastating retaliation. Leia is in the meeting where this is debated. She listens to both sides, then offers her analysis. Tarkin is a monster. He's authorized the destruction of entire cities that resisted Imperial rule. Millions of deaths are on his hands. If we have a chance to remove him, we should take it. Yes, there will be retaliation. But there's already retaliation. The Empire murders innocents every day. At least this would be justice. Mon Mothma considers carefully. The moral argument is sound, but the practical risks are enormous. If the mission fails, if our operatives are captured, they could reveal rebel bases under interrogation. We could lose everything. Leia meets her gaze steadily. Then, we make sure the mission doesn't fail. Let me plan it. Give me the resources, and I'll give you a strategy that works. Padmé watches this exchange with mixed feelings. Pride at Leia's confidence and strategic thinking, but also fear. This is exactly the kind of high-profile operation that could expose them. If something goes wrong, if the Empire investigates too closely, they might discover who Leia really is. And that would bring Vader. Always Vader, the threat that lurks in every shadow of Padmé's mind. But the rebellion approves the mission. Leia spends weeks planning every detail. Intelligence gathering on Tarkin's route, his security protocols, his ship's vulnerabilities. She identifies the perfect ambush point, a nebula where sensors will be unreliable. She selects the strike team personally, and she insists that Luke fly the mission. His skills give them the best chance of success and escape. Padmé tries to talk them out of it. This is too dangerous. Tarkin isn't just any Imperial officer. He's Palpatine's right hand. If you go after him and fail, the Emperor himself might take an interest in hunting you. Is it worth that risk? But the twins are united. This is what we trained for. This is why you kept us alive. Not to hide forever, but to fight when it matters. And this matters. The mission launches with 12 ships. Luke leads the fighter squadron, while Leia coordinates from the command ship, directing the operation. They wait in the nebula, sensors barely functional, relying on precise timing. When Tarkin's ship emerges from hyperspace, exactly where Leia predicted, the ambush begins. The rebels pour fire into the Star Destroyer's engines, trying to disable it before it can call for reinforcements. But Tarkin is no fool. He suspected a trap and brought backup. 3 additional Star Destroyers drop out of hyperspace, surrounding the rebel forces. TIE fighters swarm from their hangars like angry insects. The ambush has become a massacre. Leia watches the tactical display with growing horror as rebel ships are destroyed one by one. Luke, abort. Get everyone out of there. Now. But Luke doesn't run. He sees rebel pilots dying, ships exploding, and his instincts take over. He starts targeting TIE fighters with impossible precision, his shots landing perfectly despite the nebula interference. He saves one pilot, then another, then a third. He's buying time for the others to escape, but he's drawing attention. The Imperial commanders notice one fighter performing far beyond normal capabilities. They focus on him, and suddenly Luke is facing dozens of TIEs alone. Padmé monitors the battle from Yavin 4, listening to the communications with her heart in her throat. She can hear the chaos, the screaming, Luke's calm voice as he calls out targets. He's in the zone, completely focused, using the Force instinctively to guide his shots. He doesn't realize how obvious it is, how unnatural his success appears, how it will look to anyone reviewing the battle recordings later. Then Vader enters the battle. His personal TIE advance drops out of hyperspace, and his presence in the Force is like a black star. Luke feels it immediately, a cold darkness that makes his skin crawl. Through the comm system, he hears that mechanical breathing, impressive flying. For a rebel. Let's see if you can handle a real challenge. Vader locks onto Luke's fighter and opens fire. Luke barely dodges, his instincts screaming warnings. This isn't like fighting regular TIE pilots. This is something else entirely. Vader anticipates his moves, counters his strategies. It's like fighting someone who can read his mind. Luke pushes his ship to its limits, twisting through the nebula, using the interference to break Vader's lock. But Vader stays with him, relentless, patient. The mechanical breathing, constant over the comm. Through their twin bond, Leia feels Luke's fear. She can sense Vader too, even from the command ship. That darkness is familiar somehow, though she can't explain why. It terrifies her on a primal level. Luke, run. Forget the mission. Forget everything. Just run. Luke wants to. Every instinct screams at him to flee. But if he runs, Vader will pursue, will chase him back to the fleet. Better to draw him away, lead him deeper into the nebula, where the others can escape. He makes the decision in a heartbeat. Luke breaks away from the battle, diving deeper into the nebula's interference. Vader follows, his TIE moving with supernatural precision. They weave through plasma storms and sensor-scrambling clouds, 2 ships in a deadly dance. Luke is the better pilot in normal circumstances, but Vader has decades of experience, and the dark side enhancing his abilities. Gradually, inevitably, he closes the distance. Padmé listens to this chase with tears streaming down her face. She knows that breathing, has heard it in her nightmares for 16 years. Anakin. She wants to scream warnings, to tell Luke to do anything, sacrifice anything, just survive. But she can't speak. without revealing herself to everyone monitoring the communications. She's helpless, listening to her son hunted by her husband, unable to help either of them. Luke's ship takes a hit, not fatal, but his shields drop to nothing. One more good shot, and he's dead. Vader has him lined up, his finger on the trigger. But then something extraordinary happens. Through the Force, Luke reaches out desperately, and Vader feels it. Feels the presence of this young pilot in a way that's shockingly familiar. The Force signature is masked, suppressed. But in this moment of desperation, it breaks through, and Vader recognizes something in it. Something that reminds him of himself at that age, of Padmé, of something he thought lost forever. His finger hesitates on the trigger, just for a moment. Just long enough for Luke to bank hard and escape through a plasma storm that would destroy any other ship. But Luke's instincts carry him through, and he emerges on the other side, jumping immediately to hyperspace. Vader sits in his cockpit, staring at empty space, his mind racing. That Force signature, that presence. It was familiar in a way that defies explanation. Who was that pilot? The mission is a failure. Tarkin escapes unharmed, and the rebels lose 8 ships. It's a disaster, and the leadership is furious. Leia takes full responsibility for the flawed intelligence, for not anticipating Tarkin's backup. But privately, she's just relieved Luke survived. When his ship limps back to Yavin 4, she runs to meet him, pulling him into a fierce hug. You could have died. That was Vader, Darth Vader. If he'd killed you, I would have felt it. Luke holds his sister, still shaking from the encounter. There was something about him. When he was chasing me, I felt this connection, like I knew him somehow. But that's impossible. I've never met him. Right? Padmé overhears this, and her blood runs cold. The connection Luke felt was real. The Force, bond between father and son, reaching across the void, despite all her efforts to hide it. Vader sensed something, maybe not the full truth, but enough to make him curious, enough to make him search. The rebellion decides to relocate after the failed mission. Yavin 4 is compromised, too close to the action. They need a base further out. Somewhere the Empire won't look. They choose Hoth, an ice planet in the outer reaches. It's miserable, frozen, hostile to life, perfect for hiding. The evacuation takes weeks, moving personnel and equipment across the galaxy in small groups to avoid detection. During this time, Vader becomes obsessed. He reviews the battle recordings from the Nebula mission repeatedly, studying the rebel pilots' movements. The flying style is disturbingly familiar, and that Force signature he felt, even suppressed and masked, haunted him. He pulls records of every rebel pilot, looking for matches. But Luke Lars is nobody. An orphan from the Outer Rim who joined the rebellion a year ago. No special background, no connections to anything important. It should be a dead end. But Vader's instincts tell him otherwise. He also investigates the mission's planning. The strategy was too sophisticated for typical rebels, the intelligence too precise. Someone with serious training coordinated that ambush. He traces communications back through layers of encryption, slowly unraveling the rebel network. He doesn't find Fulcrum's identity, but he gets close. Close enough to know she's female, experienced in politics and warfare, and has been advising the rebellion for years. The profile nags at him, reminds him of someone, though he tells himself that's impossible. On Hoth, the rebellion establishes Echo Base, carved into the ice. It's primitive and cold, but defensible. The twins continue their work, though they're more cautious now. Luke's encounter with Vader has shaken them both. They increase their force suppression, meditate even more rigorously. Padmé watches them with growing concern. They're pushing themselves too hard, maintaining mental shields that must be exhausting. But the alternative is worse. Luke befriends some of the other pilots, forming genuine connections. There's Wedge Antilles, a skilled pilot with an easygoing personality. Biggs Darklighter, an idealistic youth who reminds Luke of himself. They become a tight squadron, watching each other's backs. Luke is careful never to reveal his abilities around them, always flying just below his true capability. It's frustrating, holding back when he could do so much more, but necessary. Leia works herself to exhaustion, trying to make up for the Tarkin mission failure. She analyzes Imperial patterns, identifies weak points, suggests operations. Mon Mothma comes to rely on her judgment, though she worries about the young woman's intensity. "You remind me of someone I used to know, a senator who burned with that same fire. She died during the Clone Wars." Leia meets her gaze. "I'm sorry for your loss." What was her name? Padmé Amidala. "She was one of the bravest people I ever knew." Leia keeps her expression neutral, but inside, her heart races. That's our mother. That's who we are. Winter settles on Hoth, though the planet has no real seasons, just cold and colder. The rebels adapt, layering clothes, working efficiently despite the harsh conditions. Padmé finds the cold oddly comforting. It matches her internal state. She spent 16 years frozen in fear, unable to move forward or back, just surviving, day after day. But something is changing. The twins are emerging from hiding, becoming leaders. The rebellion is growing stronger. And somewhere in the galaxy, Vader is searching. Inevitably, these paths will converge. The convergence begins with a message. It's encrypted heavily, passed through a dozen intermediaries before reaching Padmé's secure terminal. The sender is anonymous, but the content is clear. The children of Skywalker must be trained. The time has come. They are ready. It's signed with a symbol Padmé hasn't seen in 16 years. Obi-Wan Kenobi's personal mark. She stares at the message for hours, her mind racing. Obi-Wan has been silent since they parted, watching over Tatooine as promised. For him to reach out now means something has changed, something important. She considers ignoring it. The twins are surviving without Jedi training. They're effective, valued members of the rebellion. Why risk exposing them further by sending them to learn from Obi-Wan? But she knows the answer. Their Force abilities are growing stronger as they mature. Already she sees signs of strain. Luke has nightmares filled with fire and darkness. Leia sometimes knows things she shouldn't, picking up emotions from people she's never met. Without proper training, they could lose control, could fall to the dark side the way their father did. That fear decides her. She calls a family meeting in her private quarters. Just the three of them, away from listening devices. When she shows them the message, Luke's reaction is immediate excitement. A Jedi Master. Someone who can actually teach us. Leia is more cautious. Why now? We've managed this long without formal training. Going to Tatooine would mean leaving the rebellion, abandoning the fight. Is that worth it? Padmé chooses her words carefully. I've taught you everything I can about controlling the Force, but I'm not a Jedi. I don't know the depths of what you're capable of. And I've seen what happens when Force users aren't properly trained. They lose themselves, become something they never intended. I can't let that happen to you. You need real training, even if it means leaving the fight temporarily. The twins argue about it for days, but finally they agree. They'll go to Tatooine, meet this mysterious Jedi Master, and learn what they need to know. Padmé arranges leave from the rebellion, citing family matters that require attention. Mon Mothma approves without question. You've earned time away. All of you have. Take what you need. The rebellion will be here when you return. The journey to Tatooine takes a week. As they approach the desert world, Padmé feels a strange mixture of emotions. This is where Anakin grew up, where his mother lived and died. This is where everything started. In a sense, the slave boy who became a Jedi, who became a monster. She wonders if bringing his children here is wisdom or madness. But it's too late to turn back now. They land in Mos Eisley, the same spaceport where Padmé once walked with Qui-Gon and Anakin all those years ago. The city hasn't changed much. Still dusty, still dangerous, still filled with criminals and refugees. They make their way through the streets carefully, following the directions Obi-Wan provided. He lives in the wastes, far from civilization, watching over a moisture farm family. The Lars homestead appears on the horizon as twin suns set. It's humble, half buried in the sand, with vaporators dotting the landscape. Luke stares at it with a strange sense of recognition. Though he's never been here, this feels like home somehow. Like something in his blood remembers this place. Padmé knows why. This is where Anakin's mother lived, where his step-family still resides. They're walking on his history without knowing it, but they don't approach the homestead. Instead, they follow coordinates to a small dwelling carved into a canyon wall. As they approach, a figure emerges from the shadows. Obi-Wan Kenobi, aged 16 years since they last met. His hair is gray now, his face lined with time and sorrow, but his eyes are still sharp, still kind. Padmé. He greets her warmly. And these must be Luke and Leia. My, how you've grown. The last time I saw you, you were hours old. The twins stare at this old hermit, trying to reconcile him with the legendary Jedi Master their mother described. Obi-Wan smiles at their skepticism. I know I don't look like much anymore. The years haven't been kind, but I assure you, I still remember how to teach. Come inside. We have much to discuss. His dwelling is simple, but comfortable. Sparse furnishings, a small kitchen, shelves lined with books and old datacrons. In one corner, a workbench, where he's been constructing something. Lightsabers, Padmé realizes. He's building lightsabers for the twins. Over tea, Obi-Wan explains his plan. Training will take months, possibly years if done properly. But they don't have years. The galaxy is moving towards some crisis he can sense but not clearly see. So he'll teach them the essentials: control, discipline, connection to the Force. How to use their abilities without falling to the dark side. It won't make them Jedi Masters, but it will make them competent. Give them the foundation to grow on their own. He looks at Padmé seriously. I need to tell them the truth about their father, about who they really are. They're old enough now, and if they're going to use the Force, they need to understand their heritage, all of it, including the darkness. Padmé wants to argue to protect her children from that knowledge a little longer, but she knows he's right. They deserve the truth. Obi-Wan tells them everything about Anakin Skywalker, the greatest Jedi of his generation, about how he fell to the dark side during the Clone Wars, about how he became Darth Vader, the Emperor's enforcer, about how he killed Jedi, including children, in service to Palpatine, about how he nearly killed Padmé on Mustafar. The twins listen in stunned silence, their entire understanding of themselves crumbling. Luke's first reaction is denial. That can't be true. Our father was a hero. You said so yourself. He died fighting for the Republic. Obi-Wan's expression is infinitely sad. He did die, in a way. The man I trained, the friend I loved, he's gone. Darth Vader killed him, just as surely as if he'd murdered him with a lightsaber. What remains is a shell, a twisted version corrupted by the dark side. Leia's reaction is rage. So the monster we've been fighting, the Empire's executioner, that's our father? And you knew this whole time and never told us? She rounds on Padmé. How could you keep this from us? We had a right to know. Padmé meets her daughter's fury with quiet strength. I kept it from you to protect you. If the Empire discovered Vader had children, they would hunt you to the ends of the galaxy, either to use you or to eliminate you as threats to his loyalty. I did what I had to do to keep you safe. The revelation fractures something in the twins. Luke becomes withdrawn, struggling to reconcile the father he imagined with the reality of Vader. Leia hardens, building walls around her emotions. Their training with Obi-Wan begins the next day, but both are distracted, processing this new understanding of themselves. They're not just Force-sensitive orphans. They're the children of the galaxy's most feared villain. That legacy will follow them forever. Obi-Wan is patient, working with them individually and together. He teaches Luke the basics of lightsaber combat, handing him the weapon he's constructed. It's blue, like Anakin's once was. Feel the Force flowing through you. It guides your movements, enhances your reflexes, but never rely on it completely. The Force is a tool, not a crutch. Luke practices the forms, his natural grace, making him a quick learner. But Obi-Wan sees the darkness lurking, the anger at his father, at his situation. That's the danger. That's what corrupted Anakin. Luke must learn to acknowledge those feelings without letting them control him. With Leia, Obi-Wan focuses on mental discipline. Her strength in the Force is different from Luke's. Where he's intuitive and physical, she's cerebral and perceptive. She can sense emotions, read people, sometimes catch glimpses of the future. But without control, these abilities overwhelm her. He teaches her meditation techniques, how to shield her mind, how to open herself to the Force without losing herself in it. Most importantly, he trains them together. Their twin bond is unique, something even he doesn't fully understand. When they work in harmony, their abilities amplify each other. He has them practice coordinating through the Force, sensing each other's intentions, moving as one. It's extraordinary to watch. They fight with perfect synchronization, anticipating each other's actions instinctively. Two bodies, one mind. Obi-Wan has never seen anything like it, but he also warns them of the dangers. That connection makes you strong, but also vulnerable. If one of you falls to darkness, you could pull the other down with you. You must guard each other, but also be willing to let go if necessary. The twins can't imagine a scenario where they'd need to let go, but they nod understanding. Months pass on Tatooine. The training is intense, exhausting, transformative. The twins grow stronger in the Force, more disciplined, more dangerous, but they also grow in wisdom. Obi-Wan shares stories of the Old Republic, of the Jedi Order at its height. He talks about attachment and how it corrupts, about duty versus desire, about the thin line between light and dark. He's trying to give them the wisdom the Jedi Order failed to give Anakin, trying to prevent history from repeating. One evening, after a particularly brutal training session, Luke approaches Obi-Wan with a question that's been haunting him. Is there any good left in him? In Vader? Or is our father truly dead, like you said? Obi-Wan considers carefully. There's a reason he didn't ask about Vader during the encounter in the nebula. Some part of him, however small, held back from killing his own son, though he didn't know it at the time. I don't know, Luke. I want to believe Anakin is still in there somewhere, but I've seen what the dark side does to people. It consumes everything good, leaves only hatred and pain. Even if some spark of Anakin remains, reaching it might be impossible, and trying could cost you everything. You must be prepared for the possibility that your father is truly gone, and the only mercy you can offer is ending his suffering. Luke can't accept that. I don't believe anyone is beyond redemption. If there's even a chance, even the smallest possibility that he could be saved, don't we have to try? Obi-Wan places a hand on his shoulder. Your compassion does you credit. But remember, what compassion without wisdom leads to. Anakin's love for your mother, his inability to let go, that's what destroyed him. Don't make his mistake. Sometimes love means accepting loss. While the twins train, Padmé explores Tatooine. She visits the places Anakin told her about. The slave quarters where he grew up, Watto's shop, now run by someone else, the arena where he raced pods as a child. She's trying to understand the boy he was before he became the monster. She finds his mother's grave, maintained by the Lars family. She stands before it for a long time, wishing she could have met Shmi Skywalker, wishing she could apologize for failing to save her son. One day, she encounters Owen and Beru Lars at a market. They don't recognize her. Why would they? But she knows them from Anakin's descriptions, his stepbrother and his wife. Good people who would have taken Luke if Padmé had agreed to split the twins. She watches them from a distance, seeing their simple life, their contentment. Part of her wonders if Luke would have been happier here. growing up on a moisture farm, away from wars and politics. But she knows that's not his destiny, not Leia's either. They were born into this fight, children of prophecy and tragedy. Their path was set before they were born, back on Hoth. The rebellion has discovered a problem. Imperial probes have been spotted near the system. It's only a matter of time before the Empire finds Echo Base. Mon Mothma sends word to key personnel, warning them to be ready for evacuation. The message reaches Padmé on Tatooine, and she knows their time here is ending. The twins have learned what they need. Now they must return to the fight. The final night of training. Obi-Wan presents them each with their lightsaber. Luke's is blue, traditional. Leia's is green, representing growth and harmony. They ignite the blades for the first time, feeling the power thrumming through them. These are weapons of the Jedi. Elegant, precise, the symbol of hope in the galaxy. You carry them now. Use them with wisdom. Remember your training, and most importantly, remember who you are. Not Vader's children, not shadows of your father, but your own people, forging your own path. Before they leave, Luke asks one more question. Will we see you again? Obi-Wan smiles sadly. If the Force wills it, I'll be here, watching, waiting. When the time is right, we'll meet again. Until then, may the Force be with you, always. They embrace, and then the family boards their ship. As they lift off from Tatooine, Padmé looks back at the planet where it all began, where the slave boy dreamed of freedom and became something terrible. She prays her children will have a different ending. The return journey to Hoth takes a week. During the trip, the twins are different, more focused, more certain. The training has changed them. They meditate together daily, practicing the techniques Obi-Wan taught them. They spar with their new lightsabers, the weapons becoming extensions of themselves, and they talk about their father, finally able to process the truth. Luke still clings to hope that Vader can be redeemed. Leia is convinced he's lost forever. The debate becomes a constant between them. When they arrive at Hoth, Echo Base is in chaos. An Imperial probe droid discovered the base yesterday. The Empire is coming, possibly Vader himself. They have hours, maybe less. Mon Mothma is organizing evacuation when Padmé arrives. Fulcrum, thank the Force you're back. We need your transport for evacuating personnel, and your daughter's strategic mind. We're coordinating multiple escape routes, trying to save as many as possible. Leia immediately dives into the planning. She analyzes the Imperial approach vectors, identifies the best escape routes, coordinates timing so the transports don't bottleneck. Luke runs to his fighter, preparing to fly escort for the evacuation. Padmé wants to keep them close, to protect them. But this is what they trained for. This is their purpose. She has to let them fight. The Imperial fleet arrives in system. Star destroyers breaking through the ice planet's atmosphere. AT-AT walkers landing on the ice fields, advancing toward the base with inexorable steps. The Battle of Hoth has begun. Rebel soldiers man the trenches, firing on the walkers with everything they have. But the armor is too strong. The walkers keep coming, their cannons destroying emplacements, killing defenders. Luke flies with his squadron, harassing the walkers from the air. He uses his Force abilities subtly, guiding his shots to vulnerable points. He manages to trip one walker with a tow cable, and it crashes spectacularly. But there are too many. The evacuation is taking too long. Transports are still loading when the walkers reach the base perimeter. If they break through now, hundreds will die. Someone needs to buy more time. Luke makes a decision. He sets his fighter down and grabs a weapon from a supply cache. A lightsaber, still unfamiliar in his hand, but the Force guides him. He runs toward the advancing walkers, and Padmé, monitoring from the command center, sees him on the security feeds. Her blood runs cold. What is he doing? He's going to get himself killed. Luke stands alone before an AT-AT walker, this tiny figure before a mechanical monster. The walker's pilots must think he's insane, standing there with some kind of glowing sword. They fire, and Luke deflects the blast with his lightsaber. The bolt ricochets into the ice, creating a small explosion. He does it again and again, drawing the walker's attention. Other walkers turn toward him, focusing fire. He's a distraction, buying precious minutes for the evacuation. But he's also revealing himself. Everyone watching can see this isn't normal. Deflecting AT-AT cannon fire with a sword, moving with impossible speed. This is something beyond human capability. The Imperial commanders watching from orbit notice. They send the feed directly to Vader, who's en route to the system. When he sees it, he freezes. That weapon, that fighting style, and that Force presence, even masked, he recognizes it now. The pilot from the nebula. But why is he on the ground? Unless Vader's earlier suspicion was correct. Unless this boy is more than just another rebel. Vader orders his shuttle to increase speed. He must reach Hoth now. Must see this warrior for himself. Must understand the impossible familiarity he feels. Meanwhile, Luke is running out of time. The walkers are adjusting their strategy, trying to surround him. He's deflected dozens of shots, but he's tiring. A blast gets through, grazing his shoulder. He stumbles, and for a moment, he thinks, this is it. This is how he dies. Alone on an ice field, buying time for others to escape. Then Leia's voice comes through his comlink. Luke, get out of there. The last transport is loading. You've done enough. The bond between them flares with her urgency, and he feels her fear for him. He doesn't want to leave, feels like he should fight to the last. But Obi-Wan's words echo in his mind. Attachment without wisdom leads to darkness. Knowing when to retreat is as important as knowing when to fight. He turns and runs, using the Force to enhance his speed. Blaster fire pursues him, but he weaves and dodges. He reaches the base entrance just as the last transport lifts off. Padmé grabs him physically, pulling him aboard. The ramp closes and they're ascending, leaving Hoth behind. Through the viewport, they see Echo Base explode as Imperial forces breach the main generator. It's over. They lost the base, but they saved the people. That's what matters. In orbit, the rebel fleet is scattered, fleeing in all directions. Vader's Star Destroyer arrives just as the last transports jump to hyperspace. He's too late. But he has something more valuable than prisoners. He has sensor readings from the battle, energy signatures that confirm his growing suspicion. Force wielder on the planet. Young, powerful, using a lightsaber. The Emperor must be told. But Vader finds himself hesitating. If he reports this, Palpatine will hunt this warrior, will either turn him or kill him. And something in Vader rebels against that thought. He makes a decision. He files a standard battle report mentioning Rebel Force users, but downplaying their significance. Just more untrained sensitives. Nothing remarkable. The Emperor barely glances at it, focused on other matters. Vader has bought time, though he's not sure why. Something about that warrior calls to him, reminds him of what he lost. And until he understands what that means, he'll keep this secret. The rebel fleet regroups at a rendezvous point, taking stock of losses. They lost Echo Base and dozens of good people, but hundreds survived, and that's a victory of sorts. Mon Mothma addresses the assembled leadership. We're scattered, vulnerable. We need a new strategy, and we need it fast. Leia raises her hand. I have a proposal. She outlines a plan for decentralizing the rebellion. Instead of one large base, they create dozens of small cells operating independently, coordinate through encrypted communications, but never gather in one place. It makes them harder to find, harder to destroy. The leadership debates it, but eventually agrees. It's risky, but so is everything they do. As the fleet disperses, Padmé gathers her children one final time. We need to talk about what happened on Hoth. Luke, you revealed your abilities. Every Imperial in orbit saw you using a lightsaber, deflecting blaster fire. You might as well have sent Vader an engraved invitation. He knows you exist now, and he's going to search for you. Luke meets her gaze steadily. I know, but I saved lives. Isn't that more important than staying hidden? Padmé wants to argue, but Leia cuts in. Mom, we can't hide anymore. We've trained. We're ready. Vader is going to find out about us eventually. At least now we're prepared for that confrontation. Better to face it on our terms than wait for him to surprise us. They're right, and Padmé knows it. The time for hiding is over. The galaxy is moving towards some crisis, and her children are at the center of it. She survived Mustafar to protect them, hid for 16 years to keep them safe. But now they must step into the light and face their destiny, whatever that might be. She just hopes she's prepared them well enough. In his meditation chamber, Vader sits in darkness, replaying the Hoth battle footage obsessively. That warrior, that fighting style. Even through a grainy recording, he can sense the force flowing through those movements. It's elegant, trained, but still raw, young, and so familiar. The same presence from the nebula. He's certain now. But who is this warrior? How did they learn to use the Force? And why does watching them fill Vader with emotions he thought long dead? He expands his search, pulling every record he can find on rebel operatives. He cross-references Force-sensitive reports with the timeline of this warrior's appearances. Dantooine extraction, Tarkin ambush, now Hoth. 3 major operations in 18 months, each showing someone with Force abilities. But the identity remains frustratingly elusive. Luke Lars, Leia Lars, orphans from the Outer Rim. No family, no connections. Their files are too clean, which makes Vader suspicious. Real orphans have messy histories. These read like fabrications. He digs deeper, tracing their recruitment. They joined after Dantooine, recommended by Fulcrum. That name again. the mysterious intelligence operative who's been thorns in the Empire's side for years. Vader becomes convinced there's a connection. Fulcrum, the twins, the sophisticated rebel operations, they're part of something larger. A network he hasn't fully mapped. And at the center is someone with serious training. Someone who knows how to hide. Vader makes Skywalker investigations his personal priority. He diverts resources, assigns his best agents, uses every tool at his disposal. The Empire's vast intelligence network focuses on finding two teenagers among billions of beings. It should be impossible, but Vader is patient, methodical, relentless. He'll find them, and when he does, everything will change. The twins, meanwhile, integrate into the new decentralized rebellion structure. They work with different cells, always moving, never staying anywhere long enough to be tracked. Luke continues flying, becoming one of the rebellion's best pilots. His reputation grows, though he's careful to attribute his success to skill rather than supernatural ability. Leia works intelligence and coordination, becoming Mon Mothma's most trusted advisor. Together, they're making a real difference, but they're also living with constant fear. Every mission could be the one where Vader finds them. Every operation could be compromised. They suppress their Force abilities so rigorously that it causes physical pain, headaches, fatigue, a constant sense of pressure. Obi-Wan warned them this would happen. Suppressing your nature is like holding your breath indefinitely. Eventually, you have to let go or suffocate. 3 years pass this way. The twins are 19 now, adults by any measure. They've seen combat, lost friends, made impossible choices. The innocence of their childhood on Ren is long gone. They're warriors, hardened by war. But they're also still learning, still growing into their potential. And the Force continues to call to them, growing stronger as they mature. Then comes the message. It's from Bail Organa, one of the rebellion's founders. He needs to meet with key leadership on Alderaan. There's been a development, something that could change the entire war. Mon Mothma decides to attend, and she brings her most trusted advisors, including Fulcrum and her children. The meeting is scheduled for 2 weeks out, enough time to reach Alderaan safely. Padmé has a bad feeling about this. Something in the Force, a disturbance she can barely sense. She expresses her concerns to Mon Mothma, suggests delaying. But Mothma is adamant. Bail wouldn't call this meeting unless it was critical. We have to go. Reluctantly, Padmé agrees. They set course for Alderaan, unaware that they're heading into a trap, because Vader finally found his lead. One of his agents infiltrated Bail Organa's communications, discovered the planned meeting. Vader sees the guest list, and one name stands out: Fulcrum. After all these years, she's finally emerging from hiding. This is his chance. He requests permission from the Emperor to lead the Alderaan operation personally. Palpatine, always eager to see his apprentice hunt rebels, agrees. As the rebel ship approaches Alderaan, Vader's fleet waits in the outer system, cloaked and silent. They've learned patience from their master. They let the rebel ship land, let the delegation disembark, let them think they're safe. Then they strike. Star destroyers drop out of hyperspace, surrounding the planet. TIE fighters fill the skies. Stormtroopers pour into Alderaan's cities. On the surface, Bail Organa's estate is surrounded within minutes. Mon Mothma and the others are trapped. with no escape route. Padmé realizes immediately this was a setup. Someone betrayed them, fed Bail false information to lure them here. And now, Vader is coming. She can feel his presence, dark and terrible, like a black sun approaching. She turns to Luke and Leia. We need to split up. Create multiple targets. One of us has to escape to warn the rebellion. But before they can move, Vader's shuttle lands. He emerges, cape billowing, lightsaber ignited. His stormtroopers advance on the estate from all sides. There's no escape, no clever strategy. They're caught, and Vader is coming for them personally. Padmé makes a decision born of 16 years of fear and preparation. I'll face him. You two run. Find a way off planet. Survive. That's all that matters. Luke shakes his head. We're not leaving you. We face him together. Leia agrees. We're stronger together. You taught us that. Whatever happens, we do it as a family. Padmé wants to argue, but there's no time. Vader is at the door. His presence fills the room like poison gas. The stormtroopers breach, weapons ready, and then he enters. Darth Vader, in person. The nightmare that's haunted Padmé for 16 years, made flesh. He stops when he sees her. Even through the mask, she can sense his shock. For a long moment, neither speaks. The stormtroopers wait for orders, confused by their master's hesitation. Then Vader's breathing, always mechanical, becomes irregular. The vocoder strains to process his emotional turmoil. You're alive. All this time. He takes a step forward, and Padmé raises her blaster. Don't come any closer. I'll shoot. He doesn't stop. Would you? After everything, could you really pull that trigger? Padmé's hand shakes. She wants to end this monster wearing her husband's face, but her finger won't move. 16 years of hate and grief, and she still can't do it. That weakness terrifies her. Vader sees her hesitation and looks past her to the twins, Luke and Leia, standing ready to fight. And suddenly, everything clicks into place for him, the Force signatures he's been sensing. The impossible familiarity, the warrior from the Nebula and Hoth. He's been searching for his own children. His breathing stops entirely for a moment. My children. You kept them from me all these years. Padmé's voice is steel. I saved them from you. From what you became. You murdered younglings. Anakin. Do you think I'd let you near our babies? The name Anakin hits him like a physical blow. No one has called him that in years. It awakens something buried deep beneath layers of hatred and pain. Luke steps forward, lightsaber igniting. Father? His voice is steady, though he's terrified. I've wanted to meet you for so long, but not like this. Not with you serving the Empire, killing innocents. There's still good in you. I can feel it. Let us go. Walk away from this. We don't have to be enemies. Vader stares at his son. This boy, who looks so much like he once did, young, idealistic, full of hope. Everything Vader destroyed in himself. The Emperor's voice echoes in his mind. Kill them. They're threats to your power. Turn them or destroy them. But Vader's hand doesn't rise. For the first time in 16 years, He's frozen with indecision. These are his children, his blood, the family he thought lost. How can he kill them? Leia, more cynical than her brother, ignites her lightsaber as well. Don't listen to him. He chose the Emperor years ago. He's not our father. He's a monster wearing our father's corpse. There's no redemption here, Luke. Only war. Vader turns to her, and she stands defiant despite her fear. You have your mother's fire. Good. You'll need that. But you're wrong. I am your father, and I offer you a choice. Join me. Together, we can end this war, rule the galaxy as a family, or resist and die here. Before anyone can respond, an explosion rocks the building. Someone, probably Mon Mothma's security, is mounting a counterattack. The distraction breaks the moment. Vader signals his stormtroopers. Take them alive. All of them. Chaos erupts. Blaster fire fills the room. Luke and Leia move as one. Their twin bond making them perfectly coordinated. They deflect shots, protect their mother, fight their way toward an exit. But Vader is between them and escape. The confrontation they've trained for is finally here. Father against children. Vader's lightsaber meets Luke's, and the duel begins. It's brutal, one-sided. Luke has skill but no experience. Vader has decades of combat, the dark side enhancing his strength. He drives Luke back with overwhelming force, each strike harder than the last. You're untrained, weak. You waste your potential hiding with rebels. Leia joins the fight, attacking from Vader's other side. Together, they're more challenging. Their coordination, their twin bond, allows them to anticipate his moves. But it's not enough. Vader is too strong, too experienced. He breaks through their defense, force-pushing Leia into a wall. She hits hard and slumps, momentarily stunned. Luke screams in rage and attacks recklessly. Vader catches his lightsaber, holds it locked. I can feel your anger. Good. Use it. Strike me down, and your journey to the dark side will be complete. Luke hesitates, and Vader uses the moment to disarm him. The lightsaber flies from his hand, and suddenly he's helpless. Vader raises his blade for the killing strike, but Padmé steps between them, blaster aimed at Vader's mask. If you kill him, I pull this trigger, and at this range, I won't miss. Vader pauses. You wouldn't. Padmé's eyes are cold. Try me. You already killed me once on Mustafar. What's once more? The standoff holds for eternal seconds. Then reinforcements arrive. Rebel soldiers pouring into the room, firing on the stormtroopers. In the chaos, Padmé grabs Luke and Leia grabs their lightsabers. They run, following Mon Mothma through back corridors. Behind them, Vader doesn't pursue immediately. He stands in the ruined room, staring at the space where his family just stood. He found them, finally, and he let them escape. The Emperor will be furious, but Vader finds he doesn't care. Something in him, some buried piece of Anakin, refused to kill them, and that terrifies him more than anything. The escape from Alderaan is chaotic. Multiple rebel ships launching simultaneously, creating confusion. Vader's forces try to shoot them down, but they're too scattered. Padmé's ship makes it to hyperspace, barely. As they flee, she holds her children close. They're alive. That's all that matters. But she knows this changes everything. Vader knows about them now. The Emperor will learn soon. There's no more hiding, only war. And at the center of that war, a family divided. Vader reports to the Emperor, carefully editing the encounter. He mentions Force sensitives among the rebels, but downplays their significance. Palpatine is suspicious, but accepts the report. Find them, my apprentice. These Force users could be valuable. Turn them or eliminate them. Vader nods obedience. But in his private chambers, he's already making different plans. His children are out there, lost, confused, following the wrong path. But they're his, and he'll save them, even if they don't understand that salvation yet. Even if he has to destroy the rebellion to do it. On a hidden rebel outpost, Padmé and the twins process what happened. They faced Vader, fought him, and survived. Luke is still clinging to hope. He hesitated. Did you see that? When he could have killed us, he stopped. There's still good in him. Leia disagrees. He hunted us, tried to turn us to the dark side. That's not love. That's possession. But Padmé is quiet, remembering the moment when Vader froze, when she said Anakin's name, and something in him broke. Maybe Luke is right. Maybe there's a chance. Or maybe it's wishful thinking. She doesn't know anymore. What she does know is that their war with Vader is now personal. No more hiding, no more pretending. They're Skywalkers, all of them, children of prophecy and tragedy. And the fate of the galaxy somehow rests on this broken family. Whether they can find redemption or only more destruction, only time will tell. But for now, they're alive, together. And that has to be enough. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.